Hello, and welcome to today's webinar on how fabricators and detailers are overcoming talent shortages with SDS2. My name is Carrie Kraus, and I've been with SDS2 for 13 years. I started off in support, answering customers' questions, calls, chats, emails. I taught basic training for about 10 years to customers and schools. I am now the support manager. I've also taken on the role alongside Michael Smith of education coordinator. We work with schools on trying to get SDS2 into their curriculum.
Hello, my name is Michael Smith. I've been with SDS2 for 21 years. I started off in the support department, answering customers' calls, chats, and emails. I've been working with the IT department here at SDS2 for a number of years and have recently taken on the role of education coordinator with Carrie Kraus.
My name is Tyler Owen. I'm president and CEO of Owen Industries, the parent company of a company in Carter Lake, Iowa, right outside of Omaha called PVS Structures. I've been in the business for approximately 20 years. I started in the shop, worked there on some of the equipment for a couple of years, worked in the shop as a plant engineer, spent some time as a project manager, and generally worked up through the ranks and have a pretty good understanding of most of the operations of a structural fabricator.
My name is Hal Carty. I'm with Carty Berry and Associates. I started in the steel industry in the early 80s, began in SDS2 in 1987. The company I worked for was a company called Southeastern Steel Company. Our kind of claim to fame was we're located about 10 miles from the original Nucor steel plant. And as Nucor Steel built plants all over the country, their managers would come from our area, and the owner of our company had good relationships with them. And we ended up doing a lot of Nucor work over the years and all over the country, not just in the Southeast. Started as an engineer graduate out of Clemson University, worked at Southeastern Steel in that role as a junior engineer, and then got my professional engineer certificate 4 or 5 years after graduation. Shortly after that, I became assistant engineering manager, then later the engineering manager, and ultimately vice president of engineering for Southeastern Steel. Had a short stint as general manager for a company called Safe Harbor Access Systems that provided safety access equipment to the industrial sector, basically for loading and unloading trucks. And in 2001, my partner, Rudy Berry, and I started Carty Berry. And it was just he and I. We began hiring people who had worked with us in a capacity at Southeastern Steel and brought them on board kind of in a systematic fashion. And within 4 or 5 years, we'd gone from 2 people to 17. And we stayed that way for a little while, and then we eventually have grown to a company of about 35 people.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Dana Nichols. I serve as interim president at Georgia Highlands College, and I've been with the college for almost 4 years. I have been in education for 25 plus years, working with various areas of higher education, from teaching in the classroom, English and Spanish disciplines, to managing evening programs, to developing curriculum and directing libraries. It is one of my favorite things to do, to develop curriculum, and I'm so glad to be here to talk about that with you today.
Today, we will be talking about the career crisis in steel construction and SDS2's education initiative. Then we'll talk to PVS Structures and their role with Westside High School. Then we'll move on to Carty Berry with Florence Darlington Technical College, and then pass it over to Dr. Dana Nichols with Georgia Highlands College. We'll let you know how you can get involved, and then we'll open it up for a live Q&A.
SDS2's education initiative is attempting to address the career crisis in steel construction and preparing our next generation of students to become detailers and fabrication professionals.
The talent shortage is a massive problem, not just in the structural steel but across the entire U.S. construction industry. There are many causes and factors to this, but a lot of what we're seeing is an aging workforce. A lot of experts in the industry are approaching retirement age, and there just simply aren't enough people interested in the trade to replace them. A lot of students coming out of high school and even college don't even know that steel detailers exist. One way to counter this problem is to try to reach these students as early as possible. We want to put the steel trade careers on their radar. That's why here at SDS2, we have refocused and enhanced our education initiative.
We have revised our mission and vision statements. We are here to create and maintain a strong SDS2 presence in secondary and post-secondary schools in order to foster interest in the steel trades and prepare future generations of detailers, fabricators, and estimators. We are currently available for schools to reach out with any questions, and we are continually seeking new educational opportunities in the forms of schools or training centers. We're looking to innovate the way the next generation is trained. We are currently helping detailers and current customers work with their local educational institutes that they would like to hire from. We are also actively reaching out to potential schools. During this process, we have found that it is far more effective when working with a local detailer or fabricator as a partner or potential employer. So we are also actively working to recruit customers who have a local school they would like to work with. Also, in 2020, SDS2 introduced our new online training program and opened it up to existing, new, and potential customers or students who are interested in learning the software. Paired with this training, we also released a free 90-day student download of SDS2. This student download is not for production use and is for training purposes only. The student release, paired with the online training program, has seen significant success with between 5 and 10 people finishing their training weekly. Next, we have Tyler Owen to talk about his role and successes with the education initiative.
The company was originally branded as Paxton and Verling Ironworks back in 1885 and started doing structural iron before steel was invented in Omaha, Nebraska. We moved to Carter Lake in the 40s. And we do a variety of projects. We have a significant presence in the Class 1 railroad field. We do nuclear compliant work. We built the nuclear plants in South Carolina and Georgia over the last 4 or 5 years. Highly complex projects. We're doing the mobile launcher for NASA and Bechtel National. And we do some local commercial work and some other industrial work. We have about 100 folks here and fourth generation family business.
So Tyler, what struggle are you currently seeing in the industry today with filling the positions that you need?
I think like everybody, we are struggling with finding employees in all positions. We have a couple other metal forming processing companies, and they're struggling with the same thing, especially brake operators. But we saw it initially in the welding openings that we had. So we call fitters, the guys who put the steel together are obviously called, well, if you're a fabricator, you know this, they're called fitters. And then we were struggling finding welders. So that originally prompted me to reach out to the local high school that I graduated from that has a pretty robust trades program. And through that success, I thought, well, why not reach out to the folks in Lincoln and see if they had a training program that could be embedded into their industrial welding school at Westside.
So how long ago did you start this process?
So we started reaching out to Westside from a welding standpoint. I want to say 5 or 6 years ago was the first class we had that we brought in, and it worked pretty well. We had as many apprentices as we could handle at the time, so I want to say that was probably 5 or 6 years ago. And reached out to John over at Westside about a year ago for the detailing side of things. We don't hire a tremendous number of detailers, but they're the best estimators you'll ever have because they know how to read design drawings. So that's essentially the field from which we pull project managers and estimators. So we figured, heck, if we could get 1, 2, or 3. And I know some of our local competitors would benefit from it too. And I don't know if everybody wants to jump in and be a welder. I don't know how many of their classes start in freshman or sophomore year and how many end up graduating through the program. This was at least another opportunity for kids to learn a trade that pays pretty darn good money.
And when did you reach out to Metro and Iowa Western Community College?
About the same time we reached out to Westside, we reached out to Iowa Western and Metro. Haven't had as much success. John Bombach at Westside has really taken the initiative to make something work, and I'm not saying that there weren't people in the community colleges who wouldn't, but it really takes that special personality to drive the program, and he did it, and he had a graduate, which was fantastic.
We have found that one of the issues with trying to get into community colleges is that they have to massively change a curriculum in order to add new programs and classes specifically tailored to us. So the process takes a little bit longer than it does in high schools.
What was your pitch when you approached these schools? With you as a business owner, say you're approaching this school with an opportunity like this. Are there any tips or tricks that you can give others to have just as tools as they're trying to do this themselves?
Great question. I don't know. I know it takes a lot more than phone calls and emails, and it takes a lot of follow through, and it takes a lot, as you guys know, of it's like anything that's done effectively. You start with an agenda and you have action items and you schedule when the next meeting is, and then you just carry it through completion, which I think what I've seen before is some of it's just talk with people and they don't take the gloves off and really manage it through the process. And it's easy to give up with the bureaucratic process that so many schools have. But if you find a school that seems to have the initiative and a personality that will get there, that's what we had with Westside, which was great.
So you're very persistent. And if we have a customer, let's say that it might be a little more not as persistent, or they might feel like they're pestering the school a little bit, for lack of a better term. I mean, what would you say to them as far as like a school? Because this, we all know that it takes a little bit with schools as far as like getting the curriculum in. But at what point do you say, do you wait 4 months? Do you wait 6 months before you're reaching out and making that constant contact and really telling them that, hey, I have this opportunity and I want to present it and I want to hire people, and it's good money, and getting that fire, if you will?
I would suggest, and this was true of the Westside program, you got to put your money where your mouth is. We became a pretty significant donor on their expansion project that they have, and even if the local school isn't expanding, they need equipment, they need scrap to weld with, they need wire, they need all that stuff. So when you're writing checks to the high school, they tend to listen to you a little bit more. So to think that you can go in and bark up a storm and tell them to do this, that, and the other, and you're not willing to support it financially, I think you might have a bit of a challenge. So I know that helped get things along, and it doesn't have to be huge money. You just need to be a supporter and a partner of theirs.
It sounds like you are having great success with the welding program. About how many people have you been able to recruit out of this program?
We have a picture on our wall in our hallway downstairs of our first class. We had I think we had 4-person classes with a lead, and I want to say we're on our 5th or 6th year of 4 or 5 apprentices. One of the best stories is we had a kid named Josh who came from the Westside program, and when they did the expansion and we did the steel fab for it, he actually was the primary welder fitter on it. So it was a great story. Graduate of the program who turned around and built the expansion basically himself. So that was a good story. So we probably had 25 people. I think we still have a few. Obviously we've got turnover, but I want to say we still have probably 5 or 10 of them.
Great. I hope to see the same success or better with the detailing program.
With the welding program, Tyler, you have a apprentice system. What would the program look like for onboarding potential detailers?
It would essentially look similar, but I don't think we'd be able to support a 4 or 5 person class, but we certainly would be able to take 1 or 2 at a time. And ideally, we'd have a summer apprenticeship that would roll into a fall job or the following fall position. So maybe a summer or 2, or even after school. After school gets a little bit tricky because that only gives us an hour and a half or so. So we'd ideally look at summers.
So Tyler, could you tell me a little bit more about your onboarding process and what adding SDS2 into a local school will do to increase or make that onboarding process better?
Generally speaking, to be able to find a young, unsullied mind with no bad habits and with a background in SDS2 would be worth its weight in gold. We don't have a typical onboarding process for estimators or for project managers, but give me as many 19, 20-year-old kids who can fly through a computer program, and we'll put them to work almost anywhere around here. I think if someone's got working knowledge of SDS2 and they've got the soft skills put together, and showing up is half the battle, but showing up at 8 a.m. and working till 5 and understanding SDS2 and having an open mind with basic processes of a steel fab shop, I really think that's all you need.
So what kind of time does that shave off of that process if they come out of, let's say, Westside High School with SDS2 experience?
I don't know that I can answer that. I do have a small anecdote. We had a guy who was running a laser in our metals division across the street who came over, wanted to move on up in the company. We had an opening for an entry-level estimator, and he figured out SDS2 and is one of our best estimators at this point. And had he had that experience with SDS2, it would have been a lot quicker and a little bit more obvious. But yeah, no, if I'd love to have as many folks that have this training as possible, whether high school or community college or after college.
Thank you very much for your time today, Tyler. We really appreciate it and all the work you have done to help us out. We look forward to working with you even more in the future.
You're welcome. Good luck. I hope you guys find success all over the country.
We will. We're on it. Now let's switch gears here and we will talk to Hal Carty with Carty Berry.
Well, Carty Berry and Associates. So when we originally started, like I said, we started with 2 people in 2001. We have grown via 2 methods, I guess. We've trained individuals here locally. We've also been able to hire other individuals from in other areas. A big part of our history has been that both Rudy and I are professional engineers. Our detailing manager for a long time was also a professional engineer, but currently we have 1 PE on staff, which is me. We don't discriminate. We do large projects, we do small projects. We have a lot of young detailers, or a fair amount of young detailers that smaller projects are great training tools for them, and we're able to elevate them systematically from small projects to medium to ultimately larger projects, as the case may be. We do a good mix of both structural and commercial. I'd say it's probably about 50-50. We've done stadiums. One of our signature projects would be the NFL Hall of Fame Stadium in Canton, Ohio. As I mentioned earlier, we were involved with a lot of Nucor steel work in the past, which allowed us to do a lot of air pollution control systems for Nucor steel, a lot of heavy plate work, duct work, squared around transitions, elbows, those kinds of things. And that's something that is a little bit unique to us. All steel detailers probably don't have a good background in that. We have been fortunate enough to be selected as the SDS2 Solid Steel Grand Prize winner 6 times since 2009. starting with the Cyber Innovation Center project. Then we went to the DNA walkway project. There was also an industrial project that followed, I think, in 2013. We've also won for another ductwork project for SCANA, and again, the Hall of Fame project was an award winner. So we've won 6 times, and that's something we're very proud of. I've got an excellent group of people that work with us. I'm very fortunate to have the staff we have, and I'm thankful for it every day.
Great, thank you, Hal. What made you take action and try to get SDS2 into Florence Darlington Technical College?
Well, I've been kind of fortunate enough to understand that have a good understanding that SDS2 was really interested in reaching out to the technical colleges, not just Florence Darlington Tech, but also universities, etc. And that I'd had conversations with Michael and Carrie and also with Michelle, and knew that that it was something that was going to be important to the future of SDS2. Also, I know that at Cartier we're looking to continue to grow, and having a resource where students are trained in a systematic and constructive way, I felt like would be a big benefit to our business. So knowing that SDS2, where their thoughts were and how they were headed as far as the educational program, I've been working very closely with Florence Darlington Tech over the years, where we basically have hired people that are, in general, they're still in class, they're still in courses, and we hire them. We work around their schedule, and with the ultimate goal of hiring them when they graduate full time. Over the years, we've hired approximately 40 students who have gone into roles with our company. Some have gone on to work at Volcraft, which is the original Volcraft plant is local to us, and some other industries. We have a lot of steel industry in a small town. In our size of town, the amount of steel we have is pretty significant. So that's it. Basically, was timing. SDS2 was looking to further develop their educational outreach. The gentlemen who are in charge at Florence Darlington Tech had indicated that they wanted to be progressive in providing opportunities for their students. They've been very aggressive in helping their students find employment, and it's been a very good relationship between Cartier and Florence Darlington Tech over the years.
Are you only hiring your employees locally, or are you also utilizing technology to allow them to work remotely?
We're doing both. By hiring remotely, with the ability to work in a cloud situation, which SDS2 has worked with Cloud Synergistics to develop an excellent cloud program. It gives us the ability to hire experienced modelers, detailers, checkers. Might not have an interest in moving to Florence, South Carolina, but it gives us the ability to hire the best of the best. However, in our approach, we believe strongly in the training of detailers to carry on our business, to have youth in the business. It's something that Rudy and I have always been conscious of, that you don't want to have your business everybody to grow old and get obsolete. So we've got a good mix of young, middle-aged, and experienced associates that I think will bode well for us, not only now, but 10 years from now, 20 years from now. So being able to hire locally is important, because we believe in training and growing a staff that way. But the ability to hire remote workers in an area that could be all the way across the country from us, if it's the right person, has allowed us to grow significantly, and it definitely gives us the ability to tap into a good talent pool. And with the reputation we have, we we've had quite a bit of success of people having an interest to join our company.
When you are looking for new hires, what sorts of backgrounds and degrees do they typically have, and has that worked out well with Florence Darlington?
Well, at Florence Darlington Tech, the primary degrees that we've focused on would be the civil engineering technology degree, the mechanical engineering technology degree, as well as the graphics engineering technology degree. Now, over the years, their degrees have changed as times change, but each of those provides a good background as a starting point to be a steel detailer. We also have developed over the years a kind of a means of training detailers when they come in to work here via video tutorials, examples, notebooks, that sort of thing that allows us to kind of have basically a 2-week training program that's it's condensed, but it's they basically don't do anything but study for 2 weeks before they start doing actual work, and then they mirror people in our office to kind of see how they do things and to learn from each other.
So how many graduates have you hired from Florence Darlington over the years?
It's approximately 40. It varies. Sometimes we'll hire 4 in a year, 4 at a time. We have done that, whereas we've hired 4 people within a couple of months. And obviously, there's the economy has good times and bad times, and there were several years in the 2009, 10, 11 range where we didn't hire any additional people, but for the most part, it's been pretty steady. As I mentioned, they don't all stay. They're young, they're in college. They don't know exactly what they want to do, but they do get an opportunity to work in an engineering environment. They get to see how schedules are kept, the importance of working together as a team, and through that, while they're still in school, it gives us an opportunity to kind of analyze their work habits and see who's got the right stuff to be long-term employees. But for the most part, there have been a few exceptions, but for the most part, we've been very happy with the people we've gotten that have come in as students and work part-time, and then in a lot of cases have ultimately become full-time employees and played significant roles in our growth and development.
So when you are working with Florence Darlington, how do you go about recruiting from that school? And do you have any advice for other people trying to do that as well?
Well, probably the key thing is develop the relationship with the people who have an influence on the students. Over the years, there have been several people in that role, but in each case, Florence Darlington Tech is very focused on students. They're focused on their successful transition from being a student to being employees for firms in our area. And essentially, it's kind of like I have a hotline to the main guys and say, hey, we need to hire 2 people. If you got anybody you can recommend, and they'll talk to the students to see who might be interested, and I'll get they'll send a few resumes, and I'll bring them in for interviews. And if it's a good fit, then we hire them. It's worked out very well.
Along those lines, how much faster do you think they're able to get up and running with some prior knowledge of SDS2 while they're studying at the school there?
Well, one thing I think that's going to be really interesting to evaluate will be at our office. The training it's much like a fire hose. I mean, we're throwing a lot of information at them really fast, and with the effort to try to get them up and running as quickly as possible. With the program at Florence Darlington Tech, they'll be able to learn at a more reasonable pace, where they're able to take things in bite-sized chunks and kind of grow on that week to week to week. And I think that in the long run is really a more beneficial way of learning. I'm sure that the way we do it here is, it's basically giving them a lot of information, and they know where they can go back and refresh when they need it. But I'm looking forward to having people come in who've have learned something about SDS2 over a multi-week period and seeing how that transitions to us. But I feel like we're going to be in a much better position where we can start at, further along for sure. And also I'm excited because I think more people will be interested. I think once they're exposed to SDS2, I think there'll be a flood of applicants actually.
How long of a process would you say that it took to get SDS2 and FDTC? And could you talk a little bit more about your role that you played to make that happen?
Well, as you know, I'm on the advisory board, so I knew that all the individuals on the advisory board have all commented that having SDS2 involved in the educational system is important as far as the growth of SDS2, as far as meeting the challenges of the steel industry. It's something that we've talked about both during meetings and in casual meetings away from the boardroom. So I knew that it was important. It's always been important, and the relationship with Florence Darlington Tech has been a long-standing one. But it just felt like this was the right time. SDS2 was making the right moves. They were making the right approaches. And as I recall, they had presented kind of a quick study on how SDS2 in education could benefit the steel industry. And I forwarded that information to my contacts at Florence Darlington Tech. And then I followed up with a phone call and I said, what do you think? Is this something you guys might be interested in? And they were very, very interested. They wanted to know, well, who do we talk to at SDS2? And so I made those contacts with them to let them know that Florence Darlington Tech would be in touch, and SDS2, obviously, y'all were interested. So it was just the right time. And the whole process probably took less than a week, and maybe, I was really surprised how fast it went. And so I was very excited that just taking a little bit of initiative on my part, which it really didn't take a lot on my part, but just a little bit of initiative and putting the two groups together, I think is going to benefit students in our area for years to come. And definitely I do think it's going to be a big benefit to Carty-Berry.
What do you think the next steps look like for Florence Darlington from here?
I think there's close to 50 stations that SDS2 has donated to Florence Darlington Technical College. So I don't think with that commitment from SDS2 that Florence Darlington Technical College is looking to do something minor. I think they know that there's a source here for the steel industry, and that they'll take advantage of it. I have made it clear to them that our resources here, as well as some of our people in the office, would certainly be willing to help with any kind of anything that can accelerate their transition to a good program for the students coming up, that we're available. So they know that, and we'll participate in whatever way they wish for us to help.
So we've been discussing your relationship with Florence Darlington and the ways that you have gotten them set up to help the industry and to help you. What advice would you have for other detailers or fabricators who are looking to start up a relationship with a school or technical college like you have? And where or how would they get started?
I think the first thing to do would be maybe just make a few phone calls. It could be as simple as calling the front office and just saying who would I need to talk to at XYZ Technical College to find students that could fill roles in my company. And I'm sure that they would they'd make some suggestions. It could be, well, I need to let you talk to the president of the college, or it could be there's a long-standing professor there that has taken a role on to where they are very participatory in developing job opportunities for their students. But I would just pick up the phone. I wouldn't start with email. I'd make a phone call. And that's pretty much how we started way back when. We hired our first intern in 2002, and she still works for us today. So but that's how it started. We just picked up the phone and made a call. And over the years, like I said, the names have changed, but in each case, they've had good people in those roles, because obviously if someone is in charge of or has the role of developing opportunities for the students, typically they don't volunteer for that unless their heart's in the right place and they have the ability to make things happen. Everyone we've ever dealt with at Florence Starting Tech has really been exceptional in that regard.
That is great to hear, Hal. Thank you very much for your time today and the role that you play in helping us here with SDS2 and education. And we hope to keep supporting you in any way.
Well, thank you guys. And, this is a big deal. So, I think y'all can, what y'all are doing and is, it's laying the foundation for not only steel detailers and fabricators to train, but I think it's a big thing for SDS2 as well.
Each school is different, and in Hal's case, he had great success due to his long-standing relationship with Florence Darlington. However, that is not usually the case. As we heard earlier from Tyler, there are some schools that it takes a little bit longer to get into. There are more processes, procedures to go through, and we'll see that here from Dana Nichols. Dana, could you tell us a little bit about Georgia Highlands College?
Sure. Georgia Highlands College was founded in 1970 as Floyd Junior College in Rome, Georgia. The need for higher education in Northwest Georgia was such that it quickly expanded, and Floyd Junior College became Floyd College, and then added a Cartersville location. And so Floyd College was not an adequate name anymore, and so it became Georgia Highlands College, and we serve about 5,300 students across 5 different sites in Northwest Georgia. We offer a variety of associate's degrees, both career and transfer, and we offer a selection of bachelor's degrees, including Bachelor of Business Administration and Logistics and Supply Chain, BSN, nursing, dental hygiene, bachelor's, and of course the one we're here to talk about today, which is the Bachelor of Science in Building Information Modeling Management.
Great. How did you hear about SDS2's software donation program for educational institutes?
Well, so my husband has been in the BIM industry for about 15 years total. And so I would hear him talking about the various different software solutions, and SDS2 was one of the ones that he really valued, especially in terms of connection design. So I knew that when we were building this program, we needed to really try hard to incorporate that. And this team has been amazing to work with, helping us to incorporate it.
What was the process of getting SDS2 approved and implemented into the curriculum at Georgia Highlands?
So believe it or not, here in Georgia, when we started talking to our system, the University System of Georgia, which we're a part of, along with 25 other institutions, they were not familiar with building information modeling or the software that went along with that. So we had to first educate our system and our communities as to what is building information modeling management. And it took a while because they kept confusing it with construction management, which, as you know, is a different animal altogether. So we first launched an education campaign as to why we were trying to build this particular bachelor's degree. And then we started to talk about our software partnerships. And so once we had educated our community and our system as to what building information modeling management was, they really trusted us to determine what is the best software solution to add into the curriculum. But there's always in education a process, and it's a long process through which you have to be approved. And then we are accredited by the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Commission on Colleges, or SACS-COC. So we had to go through their approval. which we obtained in October 2021. And that allowed us to do a soft launch of our classes, which they will begin in January 2022. And we already have 15 students enrolled. So I think we did a good job with our education program about both what is BIM management and why SDS2 and some of our other partners are important.
About how long was the process?
So we started building our program approval process about 2 years ago. My now provost and myself and a dean worked together to survey industry partners to look at what the job market would look like so that there would be jobs for students. And that takes a lot of time. And we had some support along the way with various system level representatives. So we pulled a lot of data in that time. We wrote a lot of narrative. And once it went to SACS COC for our regional accrediting approval, it took about 6 months. So altogether, 2.5 years.
How important is it for your students to get hands-on training with industry software and tools?
Oh, it's critical. Otherwise, we're teaching theory. We're not teaching reality. And what we want to do is we want to prepare students to enter the workforce, whether that workforce uses SDS2 products or whether it uses Revit or whether it uses techless structures. We want to produce graduates that are familiar with all of the major software platforms that they might encounter as they enter the workforce, wherever they may go, whether they stay in Georgia or whether they move across the Southeast, the nation, or globally. So we really have built in a flexible curriculum that as software changes, our curriculum can change with it. As you know, technology is very fast-paced. Education sometimes isn't. You heard that it took about 2.5 years to build this particular program, and that's not unusual. So the more flexibility that we can build in our curriculum, the better, so that we can keep pace with where industry is going. Hands-on capstone projects are built in so that our students can take a real-world problem and use what they've learned and whatever software is most appropriate for that problem to solve it. Internships are also built in so that we can provide, work experience as well as hands-on. So it's critical, and all of the employers that we surveyed said that they really wanted somebody that had learned by doing.
So what was the biggest obstacle or struggle that you encountered in trying to get the program built and approved in that 2.5 years?
I think it began with just educating people what we mean when we say building information modeling management. People, even in higher education, didn't fully understand what that was. One of the things that we did to help educate our legislators in the area and our University System of Georgia decision makers was to invite them all to campus and put a HoloLens on and let them see for themselves and play with that kind of technology so that they could really get their hands on and their heads around what is BIM. That was surprisingly the biggest challenge. After that, everything started to fall in place, and we received lots of positive press around it. And that included an article in Construction Dive that it just appeared in August, and we were thrilled with that because this is not something that our marketing team did. This is somebody in the industry that found out that Georgia Highlands was building this degree, and the article was very positive, and that came in August. And again, we were not fully approved until October, so that was a lovely accolade to receive. The Contact Crew podcast also mentioned us. Again, this was not part of our marketing team's efforts. This was just a spontaneous reference to us. And then later in December at the Contact Roadshow, we got a lovely shout out talking about how needed this program was and encouraging those in attendance to really help us get the word out that we're offering this. Civil and Structural Engineer magazine also put an article in December. So a lot of really good positive press around this. And we think we've built a very good program because we did it in cooperation with not only the software platforms and the hardware companies that are part of this industry, but we did it in concert also with employers.
What kind of exposure do the students have to career opportunities both before and after they graduate?
So we have an advisory board for this program, and that is comprised of many employers that are desperate for BIM managers, detailers, all kinds of educated individuals that can help them. They provide internships, sometimes paid, sometimes not paid. They also are, as all of our students at Georgia Highlands are, they are privy to our career services department, which helps to pair area employers with people who are about to graduate from the program and would be a good fit for them. But we're always looking for new partners, and they don't have to be local. This is a program that is offered face-to-face, but it's also offered online as well. And that was one of the great things. You can't say too much about COVID being positive, but in the higher education world, COVID really challenged us to create online distance education programs that were engaging, that weren't just a cold, dead computer screen and someone's eyes staring at a bunch of text, right? So we totally revamped as a result of COVID how we deliver online classes. And this program is delivered 100% online as well as face-to-face. And we are part of the Academic Common Market, which allows us to offer in-state tuition even if you don't live in the state of Georgia. That's big because our in-state tuition is very reasonable. It's $95 per credit hour. And out-of-state tuition is 3 times that much. So if you live in a state that is a member of the Southern Regional Education Board, which runs from Texas to Delaware across the Southeast, then you can enroll in this program online and pay in-state tuition for it.
That's great. Now, do you have any tips for schools or employers on how to get involved in this process or how to get this process rolling for someone?
Absolutely. Anyone who is interested in learning more about how Georgia Highlands tackled it is welcome to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any questions that they have. But the very first thing I would say, and I've said it earlier, is that, make sure that when you're talking to the schools or when you are reaching out to systems, whether it's superintendents of high schools or principals of high schools, or whether it's a technical college in your area, make sure that they fully understand what is BIM, because they're not going to understand why that would be valuable for their students if we don't do a good job of explaining what the job market potential is. And that was the key for us. Also, begin now, because it does take some time.
Speaking of time, where do you see the program in 5 years? Where do you see it in 10 years?
So we, as I said, we already have 15 signed up, and it's just a soft launch. We haven't done a lot of marketing. Fall 2022 is when we are expecting our first full wave of classes to come in as part of our hard launch and our marketing blitz. We estimated that we would have 40 plus students in that very first year. Again, we're already at 15, so we're very encouraged that it might be even more than that. In 5 years' time, I think this is going to be our biggest bachelor's degree program. And maybe we can come back in 5 years' time and we can check my math on that. But I really believe there's such a need, not just regionally, but globally, for this kind of training, that I think right now our bachelor's degree in nursing is our largest. We have a lot of medical employers in our service area, and right now the BSN degree in nursing is our largest, but I really think in 5 years the BS in BIM management will eclipse that. In 10 years, who knows? I think in 10 years this program will have morphed several times to keep up with where the technology takes us in that time. And so much depends, of course, on the construction. Right now, we're experiencing kind of a boom and people are building. If we go into a recession, who knows? But I think there are a lot of people already employed in this industry that have an applied associate's degree from a technical college that might like to advance in their careers and become a manager, but they would need a bachelor's degree to do so. So I think this is going to be very popular. So we're very proud of it, if you can't tell. And if you're interested in any more information about it, there's an interest form that you can fill out at bim.highlands.edu.
Well, thank you very much for your time today, Dana. We are very excited to be a part of this journey with you and Georgia Highlands College.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us. And as I said, SDS2 has been an amazing partner already, and we want to be good partners in return.
I'd like to thank Hal, Tyler, and Dr. Nichols for their time this afternoon. Now, you may be asking, how can you get involved in building your local talent pools? You can always contact us directly at educationdept@sds2.com or reach out by phone at 800-443-0782. My extension is 135. Carrie's extension is 159. Make contact with schools. Contact the school dean or an instructor of a drafting program. This does not have to be local. It can be anywhere on the globe, and discuss with them what sort of opportunities you might have for them and how a relationship built between you and them would be beneficial for both. Or you can contact us and we can work with you to make this contact. In our experience, schools that make good candidates are high schools, trade schools, and universities, specifically ones with drafting, construction, estimating, or CAD programs. Another alternative for you is to use the free online training. Our self-paced basic training course online takes about a week to do, and you can find that on our website at sds2.com. Thank you for attending today's webinar. We'll now give you a few moments to type in your questions and we will provide answers.
Okay, it looks like our first question here is a link to the webinar going to be available to attendees, and it will be available. It was recorded, so you can find that on our website under free webinars, and it's the on-demand webinars. You can also find it on our YouTube page.
Okay, looks like we have another question. Where can I find the schools that are already using SDS2? And you can find a list of those on our website under the resources section under education programs, and there is a scrolling list under join the community, and you can see which schools are involved.
All right, and Dana, this question, I think you would be great to help us out here. When is the best time of year to contact a school about this?
Well, education has its ebbs and flows just like any other industry. And if you're working with a college and you're working with the leadership, that is division chairs, deans, provosts, presidents, the summertime is really the best time. Things tend to be a little bit less hectic. People tend to be focusing on strategic initiatives and planning during that time anyway. So during the summer, June, July, early August is a great time. If you need to bring in faculty in colleges, they're busy getting their fall semesters started in late August. So if you can give them until, late September, early October after they've gotten their fall classes started, they can be great participants in continuing that conversation that may have started in the summer.
Is there a limit on how many educational licenses are given to a trade school or college? There isn't necessarily a set limit. We do work very closely with the school to see what their needs are and make sure that they do have the appropriate amount to cover their need there.
Okay, we have another question. If I make the initial contact with the school, how much help can SDS2 provide in the process? We can certainly reach out to that school with you and provide various materials or just answer questions about how the process works and how we can get the software in their school to help them out.
Okay, as an employer, how can I go about hiring someone from a college or high school that teaches SDS2? You could reach out to us. We'll put you in contact. We'll reach out to that school, see where they stand as far as how close to graduation they are, and then we'll get you in contact with them. You can put out a flyer with their school. All right, it looks like the questions have kind of slowed down here. We'll give you a couple more minutes just to type in any questions you have. And like Michael said, you can reach us at the education DEPT at sds2.com or give us a call. All right. Well, it looks like that is the end of the questions here. So please feel free to reach out to us if you have any other questions or you'd like to get a process started. We're here to help you and help get over this crisis that we're seeing. So thank you very much for attending today, and we look forward to hearing from you.